Most unworn clothes fail for the same reason. Not the fit, not the trend, but the fabric. The worst part is, you most probably don't know how to recognize problematic fabrics. So you keep buying things that look good in the store, but they actually will fail in your daily life. Hi, I'm Veronica, and today we'll talk about how to choose quality fabrics without being a textile expert. We are going to discuss about some simple tests you can do in the fitting room so you could make better choices, so you could stop buying clothes that will disappoint you later. Disclaimer: after watching this video, you might not be able to shop enthusiastically and fast as before, and you might start judging clothes a little too hard. Watch at your own risk. In order to spot better fabrics, you don't need to memorize any names or particular definitions. You just need a few simple tests to do to the clothes before swiping your card. The first step is checking the clothing label. This will give you two types of information: fiber composition and care instructions. But before we go diving into how to spot good fabrics, we actually have to go through the boring part of actually talking what's on those labels that are attached to the clothes. Because that boring factual information is actually what is going to help us to choose better. When it comes to the fiber composition, you need to remember that there are three types: natural, artificial or man-made, and synthetics. Natural fibers are obtained from natural origin with little chemical processing. They are usually the best materials for your body, as most of them are more comfortable for everyday wear. Artificial or man-made fibers are also called regenerated fibers. They are fibers obtained from a base of natural origins but with intense chemical processing. Usually they are obtained from wood pulp from various trees origin. They offer qualities similar to the natural fibers, but their downsides come to the type of processing that comes in order to obtain that fabric, because there are a lot of chemical solvents that are actually used for the industry to produce those fibers, and they can also get stuck to the fiber, and they also pollute the environment, and they're also toxic for the people that work with them, and also to the wearer of the clothes if they are not properly cleaned from the fibers. So basically they are good, but also not that good. And the third type, the synthetics, they are fibers that are made from petroleum industry. They often trap moisture and heat, which can make you feel sweaty or uncomfortable very fast. The most common types of each category are: for natural, there is silk, wool, cotton, linen, and hemp. For synthetics or man-made, there is actually rayon with many subtypes such as viscose, lyocell, tencel, and so on. And synthetic fibers are such as polyester, lycra, nylon, acryl, spandex, and so on. So basically, these are the types in general to have an idea of those names, so later on when you hear them, they will ring a bell of what is what. And if you want to have this information handy when you go shopping, I created an image with this categorization and you'll find the link to it in the description below. So you could save it and keep it handy in your phone. And now that we know the basics of the type of fibers and what they do, let's discuss about the label and what information is there. So I was mentioning there is fiber composition information and also the care instructions. They are both bringing very important insights into the clothes that we have. Getting back to the care label, you have to check the exact fiber composition of this exact piece. If the piece also has a main fabric and a lining fabric, there should be two informations available specific for each type of fabric used in this clothing. When checking the fiber composition, check what does it have and how much. And I actually absolutely recommend doing this before getting the item to the fitting room, so you won't risk loving it, wearing it, putting it on, imagining your whole life living with that item, and then realizing that it's not actually a good one. If you think that in the fitting room you will realize how you feel and you will be able to recognize if this is synthetic or natural, it's actually almost impossible to do that, because the stores actually have regulated temperatures and a lot of smells, inducing you to feel comfortable no matter how problematic the item is. But you realize that the choice was very poor as soon as you bring it home into your daily life, and you're going to live with it and realize that something isn't good. When it comes to the fiber, I would recommend to always look for natural, man-made, or blends of this with the synthetics, especially when synthetics are used in a smaller quantity than the other fibers. When they are less than the other fiber, they are actually working to add the benefits to the clothing. So they add either strength, durability, or stretch. So there is a purpose for them. It's not just to make the piece of clothing cheaper, but this way it's going to actually bring you the benefits and advantages of having that type of piece with a blend of synthetics and the other fibers in it. But if you have sensitive skin or you're buying for the very warm seasons, I'd always recommend to stick to natural or man-made fibers entirely. They'll do you better and will serve you best compared to the synthetics in hot, warm weather. The second part of the label is the care instructions. And if you feel like all these signs are like a new language for you, I'd recommend checking only two of them and you will be able to make a good choice already. So they are the washing basin and the iron. They're easy to understand because the washing basin refers to the wash temperature and the iron refers to the ironing temperature. So it's pretty simple and pretty self-explanatory from the drawing. Now, if the washing basin is crossed or it says with words "do not wash, this means the garment won't hold its shape, color, or structure if washed, or it might actually require dry cleaning only, which is also not good if you're buying the first layer type of piece. A blouse, a skirt, a dress, pants, underwear even. So basically I refer to the clothes that are in direct contact with your skin. When it comes to the iron sign, if it's also crossed, it means the fabric is either a special one or deserves special treatment. If a piece of clothing is easier to maintain, like just plain fabric with no pleats, no embellishments, and it has a no ironing sign, it means that it's either prone to melting or shrinking, which is a sign that it's made from synthetics, or the fabric color is susceptible to high temperatures, or that special coatings have been applied to this piece and they are the ones sensitive to high heat. But if there is this sign and the item has beading or some specific decorations, it's totally normal to have a hand wash or low ironing temperature or no iron or no washing, because these elements are the ones causing this situation. They are the ones asking for this special treatment, even though the base could be even a natural fabric. And another thing, that if a piece of clothing is made from silk, which is a natural fiber, and it has a low washing and low ironing temperature, it's totally normal, because silk is a very sensitive fabric and this is just how it needs to be treated. Now that we went through the factual information, which can sound boring for some people, but it is the type of information we need to be able to make better choices, now let's discuss about something which is more practical. Some tests you could actually do in the fitting room. First test is the transparency test. The transparency of a fabric says a lot about it, and unfortunately, the very intense or dim light in the fitting room might make you not realize this aspect of clothes. But you might wonder why transparency is important. Well, it's because thin, transparent fabric will not hold shape. They will wear out faster, will make clothes look cheap, especially if the piece isn't expected to be transparent or to be see-through. I basically refer to those type of situations when you're buying a piece of clothing, it looks nice, and at home or when you go out you realize all your underwear is getting seen. That most probably will make you avoid those clothes in the future. A fabric that is transparent unintentionally will make you feel exposed, and that will decrease your emotional comfort and confidence to wear that piece. So how can you test this? Hold the fabric to the light, either to the light of the fitting room or with your phone flashlight. But if the garment is of a bright color, you can also check with something dark underneath, like maybe even your phone case, to see if you can realize the shape of the phone under the fabric, or if it's something darker and it looks thin, you can also check just with a tissue, so you put it under and you try to understand, do you see the white through the fabric or not? If after this test you realize that it's way too see-through than the design intended, but it might cause you problems later, either by getting damaged faster or by making you feel uncomfortable in public and eventually avoid to wear that piece altogether, turning it into a waste of money and occupied space in your closet. Another test is a static test. Static is a buildup of electrical charge, often called static cling, caused by dry conditions and friction between fabrics. Static cling is the reason why your clothes stick together or cling to your skin, especially if the environment is too dry or if your skin is very dry. If you experienced hearing a specific clicking sound when undressing, or you have felt electric shocks even, or if it was dark and you might have seen sparkles when undressing, that is a static cling, the electric charge stored in the fabric that gets released when you're moving. So how to understand if a piece of clothing is going to cause it? First of all is the 100% synthetic fiber composition. The fact is that synthetic fibers are petroleum-based, and by their chemical structure, they cannot hold moisture, allowing for electrical charge to build up instead of dissipating. But if you don't remember what synthetic fibers are and what's not, or if you're thrifting clothes and there is no label attached, rub the fabric lightly. If it clings to your hands or sticks to itself, most probably it's a fully synthetic piece and static cling is in the promise list. And if the static cling is not very strong, keep in mind that it's only going to get worse in very dry environment if you have dry skin or if you move a lot. And now let's discuss about another test which will actually help you avoid clothes that will look worn after a couple of wears. This is the peeling test. Peeling is when there is a formation of small tangled balls of fiber on the surface of the clothing. Those little peels are caused by friction, wear and washing. They happen when broken or loose fibers tangle together, common on woolen items or synthetic blends, especially in high friction areas like underarms or seating area. They're also appearing much faster on clothes made from short fiber yarns, which is a cheaper type of fiber, which is very often used in mass market brands. These peels can be cleaned with special tools and devices, and it's not something bad actually, it's just something that happens when things are being worn, but they make the garment look pretty tired, so it's not aesthetically pleasing at all. So how can you test this? lightly rub the fabric against itself and see if anything starts appearing on the surface. If the fabric is of bad quality, those peels will actually start appearing even then already. Also, chances are there might actually already be some peels on the fabric, so look at areas like the underarms or the sides or also the sleeve ends. Another test is the wrinkle test. This is also for you to test if you don't like ironing your clothes and you don't like how wrinkled clothes look. So when it comes to what wrinkling is, it's actually when there are creases or folds which are caused by the deformation of fabric fibers during washing, drying or wearing. This is most common to happen in natural fabrics. The synthetics and man-made fibers can also wrinkle pretty much, especially rayons, after washing. Keep in mind that there are non-wrinkling type of chemical treatments, so the clothes in the store could have been treated with them already, so you won't notice this particularity of the fabric at first. But we're here to discuss about how to choose clothes, not only because they are looking good in the store, but actually for how they are going to behave in real life, and this is what will matter a lot. So how to test how wrinkly a fabric is? I suggest finding a part of the clothing on the back or inside somewhere. If it has pockets, for example, you can check the lining if it's of the same fabric, or the corner of a shirt. Basically what I'm trying to tell you is that find a place or a region on the clothing that if it's going to get wrinkly in the test, it's not going to be making it look terrible. So when you found that spot on the clothing, scrunch the fabric in your hand, hold it for a few seconds and then release. If it stays wrinkled, that is its future, unfortunately. And if you're not bothered by it, imagine sitting, walking or traveling, and those creases will appear especially in those situations. But if they don't bother you anyway, not a problem. Just keep in mind that if crisp looking clothes are important to you, this is an important thing to test for. And the last test we're going to discuss today is the wet test. This is one thing that most people never think about, but the situation is that it is highly disappointing when you bought a piece, all looked well, you put it on and then you get some weird stains around your armpits, back, around the collar, basically the regions where you sweat the most. Or maybe stains appear after you got into the rain. And this all can be caused by fabrics that change their look after they are being wet. So how to test this? Take a wet wipe or slightly damp fingers with water, not saliva, water, literally, from a bottle of water. Because saliva has enzymes and they could actually be the one causing issues with the fabric. But we need clean water. And with your wet fingers, touch a small hidden area and watch what happens. Does it leave a visible mark? Does the color change? If yes, this is exactly what will happen when you'll sweat, get into rain, or even in a high humid area. Keep in mind that silk cloths will leave marks when wet. This is just a particularity of those fibers. But we already know that silk fabrics are quite sensitive and they react to a lot of things, so if this bothers you, just don't buy things from silk. And there are two more things I want to tackle today, which are not tests, but they're actually some claims which could appear on the labels of the clothes. First claim is no wrinkle claim. We already discussed that there are existing some treatments with chemicals that are making clothes non-wrinkleable. So basically this is about it. So be careful with labels that say no wrinkle, easy care, wrinkle free. These often mean that the fabric has been fully treated with this type of solutions, which can also mean that it's going to be less breathable, less comfortable over time. It will go away with the first wash if you're going to wash this piece, or it can actually require you only dry cleaning in order to prolong the action of the treatment. But remember that dry cleaning involves cleaning with chemicals. So basically on top of the layer that says wrinkle free, you just add more, which I wouldn't recommend doing. And also these finishes can affect how breathable and comfortable the fabric will feel over time. Another claim is keep away from fire, especially on baby clothes. If you ever saw or bought new clothes for kids, you might have seen already the label saying keep away from fire. When you hear that claim, you would actually think that this thing is very flammable, but in the case of baby clothes, that sign of keep away from fire are legally required safety warnings, especially for sleepwear that is not treated with flame retardant chemicals or something that is designed to be snug fitted. That label of keep away from fire indicates that the fabric is combustible and not flame proof, which is actually the case of almost all fibers, including natural ones like cotton or linen. This doesn't mean you should not buy such cloths, only that it's a reminder to be extremely careful when it comes to exposing your kid to open flame environments such as candles, nearby stoves, various electric heating equipment or barbecue fires. And it's also a legal way for the brand to protect itself for any accidents that could happen. So they just put that. Keep away from fire. And they are putting the responsibility on you. We discussed about several tests you could do to choose better fabrics, but the thing is that you don't need to run all tests perfectly. Even noticing one or two is enough to make better decisions. Because what I would suggest for the goal to be not perfection, but awareness and understanding what you're bringing home. Because the moment you start noticing and observing fabrics and understanding what you're actually buying, you start buying differently. And because you buy differently, you're going to buy better clothes and you'll wear your clothes more because they will feel more comfortable to to you. Hope you found this video useful, and if you're interested in this type of content, make sure to subscribe or follow me on Instagram, where I share more tips and behind the scenes content of making clothes. See you in the next one.